Hi guys, welcome back to RUE MORGUE TV. Executive Editor Andrea Subasati here with a reminder to check out RUE MORGUE Digital, our app, which is available on Android and iOS platforms. Not only does it have the entire back catalog of issues of RUE MORGUE magazine, it's got the RUE MORGUE library entries and integration with our blog. So all things RUE MORGUE can be found there and you need to check it out. Please enjoy this episode, and we'll see you next time.
Welcome to Tarot on RUE MORGUE TV, where we look at the use of tarot cards in horror films. I'm Laura HOKSTAD, and I'm an intern here at RUE MORGUE, as well as a tarot card reader. And today we're going to be looking at the 2021 Guillermo del Toro film, Nightmare Alley. Nightmare Alley is a neo-noir thriller directed by Guillermo del Toro and written by him and Kim Morgan. This film is an adaptation of a book of the same name that was released in 1946. There was also another film adaptation that came out in 1947. What I've noticed within all three is a really interesting use of tarot cards.
If you displease the right people, the world closes in on you very, very fast.
The story centers around Stan Carlisle, who's played by Bradley Cooper. The film begins with us seeing him kind of on the run from his past. He joins a traveling carnival and befriends a tarot card reader and her husband, who is a mentalist. And they kind of teach him their ways and their act. And then we see Stan kind of take that knowledge and leave the carnival on this plan to become a mentalist and kind of scam or swindle these rich and wealthy people. The first moment that we see tarot cards used in the film is when Bradley Cooper's character Stan goes to Zena's house, and Zena is the tarot card reader played by Toni Collette. He goes into her home asking to use her bath. He notices some tarot cards on the table, and it's a little bit hard to make out in the scene because it is very brief, but some of the cards that we see on her table are the Wheel of Fortune, Death, Judgment, and the Star card. Now, I guess we're meant to understand that she was in the middle of a reading when Stan came in. But what I can interpret from these cards, based on kind of where the film goes, is that these three cards are very representative of Stan and his journey. And I don't want to reveal too much about the ending, as this is a brand new movie, and I want to give you all a chance to see it. But the Wheel of Fortune card is always talking about kind of the cyclical nature of our life. And sometimes you're on the top and sometimes you're on the bottom. So there's like a karmic circle referenced in this card as well. So keep that in mind when you're watching kind of the journey that Stan goes on. There's also Judgment and Death. And again, those cards, if we think about just the name of them, Judgment is asking us to kind of look at maybe our own behaviors, and if we're at the end of our life, kind of like looking back, what are some of the things we will be judged for, and to kind of examine those. And as well, Death, the Death card can sometimes represent actual death, but sometimes it can also represent a change, or the death of your old self, giving birth or giving way for the new. The card that I want to draw most attention to, however, is the Star card, because in the scene we see that's the one that Stan's kind of drawn to, and he pauses at the table and actually touches that card before moving on to use Zena's washroom. But then when he's getting ready in there, Zena returns to the table and she's drawn to the same card that he touched, and what she does is she flips it upside down. And knowing Guillermo del Toro's love for imagery and storytelling, I really think that we can dive deep into the meaning behind this, because I think it was very purposeful. When we are reading tarot cards, you can interpret them in two ways, upright and reverse. And usually the upright tends to be more of a positive reading, and reverse is kind of the opposite of that, or the shadow meaning. So I think there's a lot of metaphor in this moment when we see Bradley Cooper's character drawn to that card and Zena flipping it upside down. The meaning of the Star card in its upright position is very positive. It has to do with hope, finding your purpose. The imagery on the card, we see a woman who is naked, and in tarot, the Star card is the first major arcana card that we see with nudity. So it kind of implies that it's the beginning of something. So this is a very innocent, kind of pure person. They're pouring water into a lake or a stream of some kind. So it's almost like they're giving energy to the earth. So it's finding your place, it's hopeful, it's very positive. When I see that Stan's character was drawn to this card, I think it can be indicative of him just joining the traveling carnival. There's like promise, hope, maybe a new beginning for him. The reverse meaning of this card is quite dark. Some descriptions of it have described it as kind of like a blood-sucking creature, or somebody who's poisoning the waters around them, somebody who's has an extreme and dark passion that's motivating them to kind of do whatever it takes to get ahead. As you can see, there are two very different meanings for this card, and I would say that when Xena flips it around, that really does indicate a turning point in Stan's life. Later on in the film, after Stan has left the traveling carnival and kind of gone out on his own with his girlfriend Molly, they've begun to do this mentalist show and what Xena's husband refers to as a spook show. So he's kind of doing cold readings around the room. He's trying to let people think that he's reading their minds, but really there's all this kind of like smoke and mirrors, and he's tricking these people.
Now, you see, each word has a number, and that number leads you to a different word. Bubble. And Xena feeds them to me. Please concentrate on the object I have in my hand, Professor. Please, and object 21. Emphasis on concentrate means that it is old and worn down. Cheap. Bubble.
At this point, we see Molly not wanting to be a part of the show anymore. She's really uncomfortable with it, uncomfortable about swindling and lying to these people. In an attempt to kind of convince Stan to stop this, she reaches out to Xena and a few of the other people from the traveling carnival to come visit them. And at this point, Xena tells Stan that she wants to do a tarot card reading for him. The cards that she pulls for Stan are the Tower card, the Lovers, and the Hanged Man, reversed.
Downfall. Impending danger. An urgent choice. Now, Stanton, this is the last card. It's a decree. You turn it, you're gonna find out what's coming to you. The Hanged Man. It's upside down. But you can still choose, Dan.
Well, you said so yourself. There's no such thing as bad cards, remember? Just depends on what you do with it. Look. I fixed it.
When he flips over the tower, she says downfall, impending danger. And that is very true to the meaning of this card. The tower card represents kind of a sudden change, something that's unexpected, almost as if the rug has been pulled out from under you. This one is definitely a warning for him for maybe some unexpected things to come. The next card he pulls is the Lovers card, and for this one she says that it is an urgent choice. I think this is really interesting because the deck that she's using is the Tarot of Marseille, which is a very old tarot deck. The imagery is slightly different than your classic Rider-Waite deck, specifically with the Lover card. In a traditional tarot deck, we see two people coming together, but on this card, there's actually 4 people present, and it isn't referred to as the lovers plural, it's just called the lover. So it kind of centers it on one person. This card can represent almost like a moral crossroads. When we see the different people on the card, they're kind of having this discussion. This person in the middle is almost being pulled in 2 different directions. So it's this moral dilemma, it's this decision, kind of like I said, it's somebody at a crossroads in life. The Lover card can also represent kind of a social or an emotional choice. And like I said, kind of being at this moral crossroads. And then the last card that he pulls is the Hanged Man reverse. Now, the reverse meaning of this card is different than the upright meaning in that it takes a bit of a darker turn. It's about somebody who is not willing to make sacrifices for the greater good. Somebody that's preoccupied with themselves and feels like they've put a lot of work out there and they're not really getting anything in return. So a very self-centered person. And I do think that that is representative of where Stan is at this point in the movie. He is willingly swindling people for their money. He's lying to them, taking advantage of people in their weakest states when they're grieving the loss of someone. When I think about this card and where Stan's at in the film, I think it really does kind of represent him. Upright, this is a card that represents almost like a willing victim or a martyr. When we look at the imagery on the card, we see that the hanged man has his hands behind his back, kind of almost in a relaxed position, almost like he is hanging there, but from his own doing. He is in this place that's kind of, all of his decisions have led him to be there.
What do I want?
To be found out, same as everybody else.
Is that it?
Think out things that most people want, hit them where they live. Health, wealth, love.
Find out what they're afraid of and sell it back to them.
As long as you don't oversell it.
Overall, I feel that this film really utilizes the meaning and imagery of the tarot cards in a really awesome way. Guillermo del Toro is an incredible director and a creative, and I think that all of these points were very conscious decisions. Having these cards show up when they did was all very purposeful. I saw in an interview that he actually learned to read tarot cards from his mother, and he's also released his own tarot deck with imagery from all of his films representing the different cards. His movies are so visual, and I think they lend themselves very well to telling the story of tarot. And I like that they chose to use the Tarot of Marseille as opposed to maybe the typical Rider-Waite deck, because when this film takes place in the 40s, this would have been a deck that was quite popular at the time. So even that small detail seems really interesting to me.
What do you sell?
I'm a hustler and I know it. I'm on the make and I know it. Get it?
I'm nothing like my own man, and I never will be.
So that's another episode of Tarot on RUE MORGUE TV. Once again, I'm Laura HOKSTAD, and if you've liked what you've seen here today, please remember to like and subscribe to RUE MORGUE TV for more content. And if you have any suggestions for future episodes, please leave it in the comments below. As well as if you've interpreted something in the cards that maybe I missed or didn't touch on, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And join me next time, and we'll see what's in the cards. He goes to her home to ask, and then I'm just kind of done. And bye.